Video game-related NFTs have had something of a rough week, to the gratification of myself and many, many people in the gaming landscape who overwhelmingly don't want anything to do with NFTs, don't want any form of NFTs to seep into gaming, because we're fully aware that game companies aren't actually trying to advance the art and the gameplay of gaming through blockchain and NFTs, but rather they're trying to capitalize on the technology and the scheme as an additional form of monetization. NFTs are becoming more and more of a risk and liability for game companies and entities who seek to pursue NFTs due to how awful and bad and overwhelming and massive the backlash can get when an NFT endeavor is announced. Recently, 3 gaming-related NFTs have been forced to either shut down or backpedal or apologize. Let's start with Team17. This is the publisher of the Worms franchise and IP. And recently, on January 31st, 2022, they announced what they called environmentally friendly Worms NFTs. Scrolling down, we can find all of the relevant information, like how these NFTs would be limited editions. It's all about the FOMO and the artificial scarcity. That's how these NFT schemes are pushed forward. They express little concern for the negative environmental impact that NFTs have, which provide nothing new. It's just a buzzword to push schemes that have already existed, just disguise this something new and something trendy when it really isn't, when much of what the gaming industry is presenting in terms of what NFTs will pave the road for is already possible with existing technology that doesn't require environmentally harmful and wasteful NFTs. And this publisher set up a whole website alongside a MetaWorms Discord, where one of the channels is a roadmap channel, and in that channel you'll find a post saying, do a roadmap. So part of this roadmap involves actually coming up with a roadmap in the first place, and then you've got other channels like NFT discussions, speculation, shilling channel, all of which at the time of this article's writing were empty. Clearly it is early days, which really highlights the lack of interest from Worms fans and the gaming community as a whole. Now, it was related in this article that Eurogamer learned that the teams under Team17, the publishing company, many of them were not even aware of this pursuit and endeavor and plans for NFTs, and were not happy about the announcement. Several teams within Team17 had no knowledge of its controversial plans to launch a range of collectible Worms NFTs. Others within Team17 were aware of the NFT collaboration after the deal was signed and voiced their disapproval of it, only for it to be announced anyway. Now, when Team17 was reached out by Eurogamer to comment on any of this, here's what they said. Team17 is licensing the Worms brand to our newest third-party partner so they can produce collectible digital artwork based on one of the most beloved IPs in indie games in a similar way to already available physical merchandise. Nowhere close to comparable. Physical merchandise actually has practical applications, be it, wearable merchandise that can serve as clothes, or art, or just the collectibles that can, look behind me, serve as decoration. And unlike digital NFTs, whose scarcity is only artificial, with physical goods, there is actually only so many of a physical good you can produce. There is actual scarcity involved. And physical goods can't just be copied and pasted by anyone like you can with digital media that you allegedly own based on some digital ledger, based on some digital receipt. Now, Team17 conveyed that they have no plans to introduce NFTs or play-to-earn NFT mechanics into any of its indie game label titles. For now, if you think this is something they wouldn't contemplate down the line when NFTs become more normalized, you're kidding yourself. So here's what the MetaWorms NFTs website looks like. It's metaworms.com/live. It's still up, even though plans were recently canceled, and I'll get to that in a bit, but you can click here to join the Discord, and here's an example of the kind of NFT art projects that you can quote-unquote own. This is kind of hideous. And if I were gifted this NFT, this would be worse disrespect than if Santa were to gift me a Christmas present in the form of him taking a dump in a box that isn't even gift wrapped, with no bow on it, just a cardboard box with Santa dump on it. I'd rather have that than this. At least there's a good story to tell there. Now, I mentioned that Team17 ultimately canceled their NFT plans, and that, of course, had to do with how bad the backlash got, but not just from the community, but also from the developers who are under the Team17 umbrella, because many of them weren't even made aware of this, and those who were aware expressed their disapproval, but Team17 went ahead with it anyway. So here's what Eurogamer reported. Developers of Team17 published games slam Worms NFT plans, and embedded in the article are various tweets that were sent out by the various developers that have worked with Team17. So, for example, here we have Overcooked's official Twitter page, and their message reads, "Hey there, we at Ghost Town Games just wanted to reassure you all that Overcooked and any future games will never engage with NFTs." Obviously, with the publisher coming out with these NFTs, it could be misinterpreted as all of the developers underneath that publisher potentially paving the road to NFT scams, but the developers of Overcooked Ghost Town Games wanted to reassure that we are no part of this, we do not approve of this, and we will not partake in the scheme that our publisher is partaking in. We don't support NFTs. We think they carry too great an environmental and social cost. We also want to ask folks to be kind when voicing their concerns to their friendly neighborhood community managers. Basically, a lot of community managers across various studios under Team17 were likely getting hate, were likely getting criticism, but the community managers likely didn't know about Team17's plans, and even if they did, they're just the messengers, so hating them and sending hate their way, and any kind of toxic vitriolic hate for that matter, it's just, that's just not acceptable. Here we have Aggro Crab Games, who were even more aggressive with their messaging, starting with a sigh. There's a collective sigh across the entire gaming community. We feel ya. And then said, "We at Aggro Crab condemn Team17's decision to produce and engage with NFTs," just directly calling out the publisher and saying, no, this is wrong. We believe NFTs cannot be environmentally friendly or useful and really are just an overall effing grift. Please do not harass employees at Team17 or the devs under their umbrella, as this decision seems to have taken everyone off guard and likely came from the very top. Indeed, blame the executives, the decision makers behind Team17 who made this decision without telling seemingly most people at the company, most of their partners and developers and studios and teams. And Aggro Crab make their stance even clearer by stating, "Needless to say, we will not be working with Team17 on further titles and encourage other indie developers to do the same unless their decision is reversed. I frickin' hate it here, Nick and Kalen." This post garnered over 100,000 likes. It went viral because this was such a strong stance against Team17, calling them out by name, condemning them, and then saying, hey, this is where we draw an ultimatum. We will not work with you if you don't retract this crappy scam. And finally, we have Playtonic, the developers of Yooka-Laylee, who tweeted the following message, and you can see what that looks like here. It reads, "To our community, we have no interest in utilizing NFTs in any aspect of our business now or in the future, nor do we endorse the use of NFTs in the wider world. In light of this, please be respectful when engaging with staff and community managers unwittingly affected by NFT announcements." Once again, reinforcing to keep in mind that most people in Team17 and across the various developments team just straight up didn't know about this, didn't know this announcement was going to happen, and feel pretty screwed over by this, as obviously the negative optics surrounding Team17's NFT endeavors can trickle down to all the people who didn't even have any influence in these plans, who didn't know. But yeah, suffice to say that the backlash got pretty severe, and this made plenty of headlines, especially with the developers underneath the publisher just revolting and speaking out, and it didn't take long for the Worms publisher for Team17 to ditch the NFT scam after only 24 hours. They published a tweet where they just straight up said, "We're not going to do this. We have listened," or whatever bullshit. Team17 is today announcing an end to the Meta Worms NFT project. "We have listened to our Teamsters, development partners, and our games communities and the concerns they have expressed, and have therefore taken the decision to take a step back from the NFT space. On one hand, yes, this is a positive development, but on the other hand, at this stage, you should have known better. There have been plenty of instances of game companies having to retract their NFT endeavors because the backlash got so bad. The gaming community overwhelmingly has made it abundantly clear at this point that NFTs are just not an acceptable form of technology and monetization and implementation in video games due to the nefarious way in which they're being utilized. And yet Team17, likely knowing all of this at this point, given how widespread the backlash has been, still decided to test the waters and then pretend like, oh man, we didn't know. We had to listen to the development partners and the teamsters in our communities for us to realize that this was the wrong move. No, you knew this was the wrong move, or you should have known better at this point. These apologies are getting tiresome. I'm not accepting them anymore. You either don't do them at all, or you show your true colors if you decide to test the waters, even if you retracted down the line. Just stop it and get some help. So yeah, that's kind of been the big story surrounding NFTs and the way the gaming community is fighting back against them. But we also have an update on the Troy Baker situation. Recall that not long ago, on January 13th, 2022, Troy Baker tweeted the following: "I'm partnering with VoiceVerse NFT to explore ways where together we might bring new tools to new creators to make new things and allow everyone a chance to own and invest in the IPs they create. We all have a story to tell. You can hate or you can create. What'll it be?" And this quote especially gave the impression that what he was saying was, if you disagree with me, if you have qualms against NFTs, then you're just hating. Anything short of partaking in this endeavor is baseless criticism. And if you don't partake in NFTs, then you are not creatively driven. Those were kind of the implications that people took from this. It didn't help matters that right around the time that Troy Baker announced his partnership with VoiceVerse NFT, it was made known that VoiceVerse NFT had stolen somebody else's work and used it as part of their marketing material to promote their AI voices. That's emblematic of the issue with NFTs, this whole ecosystem where theft and scams and crimes are way too easy to get away with. And there's the fact that he was engaging with NFTs at all, and the fact that it was in the form of AI voices that would damage the voiceover industry. It took him over 2 weeks to finally respond. When he did, he said this: "Thank you all for your feedback and patience. After careful consideration, I've decided to not continue the partnership with VoiceVerse NFT. Intentions aside, I've heard you and apologize for accusing anyone of hating just by simply disagreeing with me." So on one hand, once again, this is a positive development, both the fact that he apologized for the way he messaged that tweet, implying that you're hating if you're not partaking in NFTs and that you're not being creative if you're not partaking in NFTs. And more importantly, he did end his partnership with VoiceVerse NFTs, but he's still getting plenty of criticism because it took him this long to end this partnership or to apologize and announce this. And also because he didn't apologize for engaging with NFTs. He didn't necessarily denounce the NFT tech and the company. He strictly apologized for that hate or create bit. And so I don't know what to make of this. He did come on to Alana Pierce's podcast, Play, Watch, Listen, where he is actually one of the regulars. And there he talked about how he was actually just really ignorant about NFTs as a whole. And, I don't know the guy, so I don't know, what the credibility should be there. The podcast, I think, was a good episode where they actually did sit down and talk about this. And the other podcasters who disagreed with Troy Baker's tweet or the fact that he was engaging with NFTs at all actually filled him in on good information. And one of the regulars, who is a game developer, promised to help Troy with his endeavors without the usage of NFTs. But assuming that he's telling the truth and that he was just really ignorant about NFTs, I hope now Troy Baker is a bit more educated about why there's so much criticism surrounding NFTs. And it's also worth noting that ignorance is not an excuse when you have a huge platform to spread, what are essentially scams in the case of NFTs and just bad information that can potentially be harmful. The fact that he went into this endeavor without knowing what he was getting into is not an excuse when you're spreading that to other people using this big platform that you have. And Troy Baker has hundreds of thousands of followers, 420,000. So the hope with him is that he's learned and he won't rush into endeavors like this in the future, and that he will understand the other side of the fence of why NFTs are so despised and why people are not looking forward to their implementation in the gaming landscape especially. Last but not least, on top of Team17 having to cancel their NFT plans because the backlash got so bad, and on top of Troy Baker having to retract his partnership with an NFT company, we now have EA sort of backtracking their enthusiasm towards NFTs. As tweeted by Jason Schreier here recently during EA's financial briefing, EA expressed their hesitation about putting too many of their eggs in the NFTs basket, and this is especially rich given that previously, EA CEO Andrew Wilson had said that NFTs are the future of our industry, but only 3 months later during the financial briefing, he came out and said that NFTs are not something the company is currently driving on, in large part likely due to how stigmatized NFTs have become, what a PR liability they have become, and just how much backlash NFTs get, just how near universally hated they are, especially in the gaming landscape. Now, EA's being a little more careful about approaching NFTs, whereas before they seemed to be all in. And this all goes to show that the backlash matters. Voicing your opinions matters. When we do it en masse like this and it proves to be disruptive enough for companies' potential ability to make revenue and profit, we get them to back off and change their mind. So this is the positive development surrounding all of this, just the fact that there's such a pushback against NFTs that companies are becoming more and more scared to implement them because they're becoming a riskier and riskier proposition. I am all for that. Tom Henderson, who followed the financial briefing and the earnings call, also tweeted about this. EA is not looking at NFTs in the metaverse at this moment in time. And IGN got the full quote from the earnings call. Here's what EA CEO Andrew Wilson said. Whether that's part of NFTs and the blockchain, well, that remains to be seen. The way we think about it is we want to deliver the best possible player experience. Says the company that time and again have prioritized rushing games out to launch to meet certain financial quotas over offering the best player experience by shipping a polished and complete product. We'll evaluate that over time regarding NFTs, but right now it's not something that we're driving hard against. EA seems pretty spooked about the overwhelmingly negative optics surrounding NFTs, and plenty of other companies, no doubt, are also getting more and more spooked. Though some companies are being stubborn, like Konami, who are so used to negative PR and so used to mass backlash and so used to just desecrating IPs and franchises that they're willing to double down, stating the following during their financial briefing and earnings call. We will also be selling non-fungible tokens, NFTs, in an effort to preserve content that has been loved by our customers as commemorative art. You don't need NFTs to digitally commemorate content. As long as it's out there on the internet, boom, it's already preserved. The NFTs element just tries to add that ownership and investment aspect to all of it for Konami to be able to bank off of. What they're basically saying here is Castlevania NFTs for its 35th anniversary was just the beginning, and with Metal Gear's 35th anniversary coming up soon, yeah, I would not be shocked if they desecrated that beloved IP as well. With a scummy sale of Metal Gear NFTs, they've already desecrated it enough with Metal Gear Survive and frickin' Metal Gear Snake Eater Patchy Slot. What's one more piss and dump on the Metal Gear corpse at this stage? And I'm sure the same can be said with all of these other beloved Konami franchises, which are likely not safe from their scummy and greedy endeavors. And then there's also Ubisoft, who recently doubled down on their NFT pursuits by saying that players just don't get it right now, that they'll see one day just what an important aspect of gaming's future NFTs are, but they've still yet to be able to explain exactly how. They're scrambling for any kind of excuse to sell this whole thing positively, but they've failed to do that. And then most recently, like literally just today, Facebook parent company Meta saw its stock drop by over $250 billion in value. 26% of its stock was just wiped out after revealing that Facebook user base has declined, that revenue wasn't as high as investors were hoping, and the metaverse endeavor just isn't really doing all that much for the company. And while this might not be gaming related, Facebook has been one of the most outspoken and powerful advocates for the metaverse and NFTs and whatnot, so to see this company suffer is, it does bring a smile to my face. But in the gaming landscape, yeah, companies are getting more spooked by the backlash. There are more indications of companies or entities retracting their NFTs endeavors, and some companies like EA are straight up just deciding not to lean fully into this until they see where this landscape is headed. So the pushback is definitely on some level working. Whether that'll be enough to stop NFTs from seeping into games outright sometime down the line, because game companies are going to keep trying to inch forward, month by month, year by year. Whether it'll be enough to stop it outright, I can't tell you that for sure. Only time will tell. But for now, I'm happy to see that so many NFT endeavors are being pushed back against enough that they end up in failure. So yeah, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the latest developments surrounding NFTs. What I feel are positive developments. What's bad for NFTs is good for gaming, in my opinion. But share your thoughts in the comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.